everybody. Derek here. We're going to take a look at the news for the 14th to the 20th of March 2022. Getting started a little bit late. We'll see. That's the typical reason. I am very sleepy. that is the usual reason. Anyway, I'm going to kick off with some updates. So a bunch of games were announced this week. Xbox had an indie showcase thing happening Wednesday, I think. So a couple of games were announced during that, and then a couple of games were just announced incidentally at the same time. So the one big one that I'm interested in most is the Quarry from Supermassive Games. And this looks like a pretty decent follow-up to Until Dawn. So Supermassive haven't done this size of game in quite a while since Until Dawn. Basically, they've done much smaller titles like the Dark Pictures anthology. They're definitely nowhere near as big as Until Dawn. And I have done an Until Dawn playthrough on the channel if you want to check it out somewhere. But this looks like it is kind of not reimagining, but like it's doing the Until Dawn thing. It's sexy teens isolated on a mountain. Only in this case, it's a quarry. The opposite of a mountain, whatever, not important. But they're doing the kind of teen slasher thing, in that like there's some kind of monster slasher thing, hunting them down one at a time, and they need to survive the night in the quarry, etc. And there's some returning faces from Until Dawn, and there's some returning faces from Dark Pictures, and David Arquette's in there for some reason. Maybe he's the killer, who knows? I doubt it somehow, because he's rather insistent that they do not spend a single that they do not spend one more night in the quarry. Apparently this particular night is a bad one, and they should not be there. So it's like summer camp teen slasher stuff. So there's a bit of what's the one? Jason? Friday the 13th? That. So there's a bit of that with the teen slasher stuff, and then there's a bit of like monster stuff. Monster in the Closet? Not Monster in the Closet. Yeah, Monster in the Closet. Whatever. You know what I mean? It's not a supernatural dude walking around killing everybody. It's some kind of monster thing. Or at least that's what they want you to think. But Until Dawn definitely had a bunch of different tropes going on at the same time. So not clear what the monster is, if it even is a monster, and so on. So yeah, a bunch of actually like well-known names in that. But yeah, we'll see a bit more of that maybe later this year. Then we have a game called Immortality. This is the new Sam Barlow game, although it appears to be a trilogy of games. Sam Barlow, if you are not familiar, is the guy who made Her Story and what's the other one called? Telling Lies. They are FMV games where you are given a big database of video clips, and you need to piece together a story. So in Her Story, it was somebody giving a recount of criminal incident, and you needed to piece together like what were the lies, is she actually telling the truth, kind of trying to track the whole story back through police interviews. And Telling Lies was an FBI agent who went undercover with this militant environmental group, and his whole life fucking fell apart, and you were basically trying to piece together where is he now, with the various different clips he would upload, and other characters' clips and so on. And Immortality seems like it'll be much the same thing, only it appears to be mostly like behind the scenes things and like audition clips, because this person we are following is an actress who has disappeared, and all of her movies have disappeared, and we need to figure out the fuck's going on there. Why is all this stuff missing? So that would be interesting, because I really like Telling Lies and I really liked Her Story, so hopefully that'll be much the same. And then Flintlock, The Siege of Dawn. This is from the same developer who made Ashen, and Ashen is it's fairly overlooked Souls game. It has a really interesting art style. It's a bit grey, obviously, because it's called Ashen, and I think that's kind of why it gets overlooked, because it's not pleasant to look at. There's a lot more color in this game, though. So Flintlock, The Siege of Dawn is a bit American Frontier kind of stuff, and then skeletons and demons and cyber dogs. Not cyber dogs, magic interdimensional dogs, I guess. You have this fox-looking thing that follows you around, and it has magic powers. You'll probably see in this clearly, cinematic trailer. There's no actual gameplay here, but it's meant to give you an idea. This guy has a very unique way of getting off the ground, which I appreciate. Anyway, so I think you can get an idea that it has the same kind of Souls combat in that it's very methodical, lots of dodging, waiting for your attack instead of just wailing in like other brawler games. And yeah, your fox coyote dog thing has strange magic powers. That's it. The game will be out later this year. There's no gameplay trailer just yet. This is more just a setting the tone type. You do have a flintlock gun, as the game name might suggest. Whether it will play a bit Bloodborne, because Bloodborne had the same kind of idea. You had like a pretty shit gun that was mostly there for parrying enemies and not really there for doing any actual damage. It's possible they're going down the same route and they went, hey, Bloodborne was pretty cool. Let's do that again. Okay. So, those are games that are coming up soon-ish, maybe. We don't know. Maybe this year at some point. Games that are out right now, though. So, the Chaos game, Strangers of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin, is out this week. There was a, not pre-order incentive necessarily, but if you bought it in the initial lead-up to release, you got 72 hours early access, and I did that, and so we played a little bit of this game on Tuesday on the stream. The VOD is still there, or it's on YouTube as well if you want to check that out. So Final Fantasy Stranger of Origin Final Fantasy Origins. Jesus. Stranger of Oh, can you tell I'm still half asleep? Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin is what I meant. Is out. It is a Soulsy game, not Elden Ring style. The old Souls games, it's a lot more like Neo, really, than any other game. It is nowhere near as difficult. The normal difficulty level is not easy, but it is like manageable. You're not going to be dying on like every enemy and having to, smash your face against bosses and stuff like that until you finally win. Putting it up to hard mode, it makes it play a bit more like Neo. So it's a bit more difficult. And then there is a chaos mode, although I think you have to finish the game, and that is pretty hard. That's a pretty hard mode, all right. That's probably a bit closer to the beta. The betas were quite tough. Anyway, fun game. I'll be playing more of it on the channel at some point when I find time for it. And we had Tunic. Tunic is a surprise launch. So again, part of the Xbox Indie Showcase that happened this week. They showed a bit more of Tunic, which is pretend the old Legend of Zelda games. Only instead of Link being a kind of elf child, it's now a fox. And you've got a pretty good idea of what Tunic is. Think of the way you think the old Legend of Zelda games looked and felt, with nostalgia goggles and so on, but now, like, it's an actual game. And I am really rather annoyed that it is exclusive to Xbox, because I don't own an Xbox. It's on PC as well, but as I have lamented in the past, PC is not up to the challenge. But yeah, this looks like a really good game. I just really want to play it. Anyway, it is on, if you happen to own an Xbox and are also subscribed to Game Pass, it's on Game Pass as well. So why not? Knock yourselves out, you shits. I don't get to play it. Okay, and we have Anno Mutationem, which is an anime brawler environmental cyberpunk thing. No, it's a little hard to explain. You've got these 3D sections that are mostly for exploration. It's very tropey for anime stuff, but that's fine because it means like you kind of know what you're getting. You play as Anne Flores, who is a somewhat amnesiac, suffering from this strange illness that has her collapse every now and then in the middle of combat, which is not particularly helpful, although so far it has been very accommodating in that we only seem to collapse after combat has happened than for story reasons. Gameplay wise, it's a hack and slash side scroller type deal with like launchers and aerial combos and parries and that kind of thing. It's fun. I really liked it. We played a bit of it on Friday. If you want to check that out, the VOD again is still on Twitch currently, and if you're watching this later, it'll be on YouTube today, I think. Yeah, it should be. I don't know. The scheduling. I did the scheduling for these videos, and I forget what video comes out first. But I'm pretty sure this one comes out on a Sunday, the 20th. Anyway, it was a fun time. I'm eager to play more of it. There are some like problematic things in that one of the side characters is very sexual harassment a little bit. Like if you had changed the genders, this would absolutely not be acceptable, but whatever. Moving on. It's anime stuff. It's fine. We kind of know what the trope is. It's harmless. Paradise Killer has previously been on Switch and PC and is now getting a console release. It got its console release on Wednesday. Again, we played a bit of it, and I have started a full playthrough of the game. So part 1 is out on the channel. And again, part 1 should be up on YouTube as well. If you want to check that out, more will be coming. Basically, it will be the Wednesday game until it's finished, pretty much. The big update for PlayStation and Xbox is ray tracing. Basically, there's been a massive graphical update to the game. It looks quite nice, and there are new things to find, new collectibles and stuff. I haven't found any of the new collectibles yet. Although, to be fair, there were so many in the original game. It's debatable if I will even recognize a new one. Anyway, it's a great game. Very weird, very good world building. Definitely check out my VOD and play it, but definitely check out the game as well for yourselves because it is very good and I really liked it. And then finally, Adios was an Xbox and PC exclusive last year. It's getting a Switch release now. Adios is a pretty heavy narrative story game. You play a pig farmer who works for the mob, and as you might imagine, you are used for disposing of bodies. You know, you feed the bodies to the pigs, and no body, no crime, you know? But you've had crisis of conscience or something like that, but you don't want to do it anymore. And the hitman, who's been your friend up until this point, kind of comes around with another body for you to dispose of, but is like trying to talk you into keep doing the job. And the game is mostly about you sticking to your guns. I didn't mean that as a pun. That's an unfortunate time of the game. You're sticking to your guns, basically. I don't want to do this job anymore. With the pretty easy realization that if you don't keep doing the job, they're going to kill you. So yeah, it's a pretty heavy story, very well written. And I'm excited to actually play it myself for once instead of just watching somebody else play it. Anyway, so those were the new releases for this week. How are we doing? How are the stats? How are the OBS stats before I launch into industry bullshit and disappear for a while? I'm a bit low, I think, Mike. I might pick the mic up a bit. Okay, I think I just have the mic a bit further away from my face in the news recaps, and also I'm not trying to shout over the game audio, which is, I guess, a lot easier when I'm streaming the game, because I have the game audio in the background of my head. Anyway, it is now time to talk about the worst parts of the video game industry. No, shit. It's now time to talk about the worst part of video games, the video game industry. Fuck, I need to have that written down somewhere so I don't keep fucking it up. Anyway, so this new report came out from People Make Games, who are like an investigative video game journalism kind of thing. They are mainly a YouTube channel, but they do like some long form stuff as well. And they've done some stuff. We talked about Roblox in the past. That was their report on how Roblox is fucking awful for everybody, but particularly for children. Their most recent video highlighted like a toxic environment in the developers behind Florence, the developers behind Gone Home, and Watam as well. So People Make Games have a new long form video discussing the emotional abuse of employees that can thrive in indie studios. And the issue there is that indie studios people kind of are there mostly to get away from the corporate structure. Like, they don't want to be part of hundreds of people teams. They want to have a nice, like, close-knit development thing where they can have like a bit of creative freedom and so on. But the issue with that is because it's such a small team, there's usually nowhere to go if you're having human resources issues, because there's usually not a human resources either, because the teams are so small, typically in indie games. And that, while not every studio is going to have these issues, the ones that do, they tend to be pretty bad. So the ones that they highlighted were Florence developer Mountains, led by Ken Wong, Gone Home, developer Fulbright Company, along with Steve Gaynor, and Funamina, who made Watam, Robin Hunick. So both Mountains and Fulbright have been talked about before, that they've had pretty bad development practices. Not that the development itself was bad, but like the work environment was pretty bad. And from the reporting from People Make Games, that hasn't changed. Like, it's the issues still permeate and haven't been properly addressed. And then this last one from Funamina is actually kind of new, because we didn't know too much about this, and the reason that it even came up in People Make Games is that when they were interviewing people from Mountains and from Fulbright Company, they kept mentioning Funamina as a similar issue. So they're like, hang on, we've never heard this, so let's track that down. So some issues coming from Funamina in particular, because again, the Fulbright and Mountains one has been reported on before, and it's just basically they haven't changed. And that's not great, and we really shouldn't dismiss it. But there's more here. Anyway, so for Funamina, the issue here is that Robin Hunick, who is head of the development team, head of the whole company, she would often use personal details of employees' private lives in discussions at work. This apparently ranged from relationship, appearance, identities. These are all like things that you can't really do a whole lot about anyway. Hunick being the lead at the studio meant there was no one for these workers to go to. Again, they're at the top. There's no one else to talk to about these kind of things. If they would talk to other leadership, like a co-founder, the meetings never led to any meaningful action. Again, because the studio and the games are pretty much known for Robin Hunick's development style, like the kind of weirdness for like Watam and that kind of thing. So they're not going to go against that. That's the issue. So talking to a group of current and former employees, they reached out to People Make Games to make a statement to say that Robin was typically the instigator of a huge amount of toxicity at Funamina, and her public-facing persona of supporting diversity and empathy is at odds with how she actually runs the studio. So she's a bit of a public persona, private persona kind of person. However, the through line between all three studios is Annapurna Interactive. Annapurna Interactive are the publisher for all three of these development studios. So for Florence, for Gone Home, and for Watam. Former Mountain employees were disappointed Annapurna didn't do enough to mediate between Ken Wong and the workers, and Fulbright devs felt that the publisher's actions showed more concern for Open Roads, which was the game that was being developed at the time, than the people actually affected by Gaynor's behavior. So an issue there being that they were protecting their business interests rather than the people who actually make the games, which is unfortunately a little par for the course. The whole video I will link in the description on YouTube, but if you want to just search for it, just People Make Games, it's their latest video. But that's not it. That's not it for shitty video game indie developers right now, because Moon Studios, people behind the Ori games, Ori and the Blind Forest, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, same problem. So GamesBeat put out a pretty huge report. It is quite lengthy. It's a good read, but it's a lengthy read. It's gonna take you a while to read through it if you're gonna do it. So yeah, I don't know if you feel like doing that. It was quite long, so up to you. But as they pointed out, Moon Studios' culture is oppressive, leadership using work meetings and calls as a means for abuse, and they criticize employees' work in public and barely praise them, and when they do, it is in private. So again, not a great way to manage people. You are meant to do that the other way around. You praise in public, you criticize in private, not the other way around. Some other issues that were brought up are inappropriate gags from the founders about things like workers' penis sizes. Lovely. A quote from founder Thomas Mahler that he would kill the Jews by making them work to death through game development. I imagine he meant it as a joke, but still, not a good look. And then, of course, the obligatory ableist slurs in work chat. Again, not great. This is not a good, these are not professional. There should absolutely never be any slurs in work chat whatsoever. There's a reason we use slur as one word and slag as another word. And if you are not familiar, slag is like a joking, fun time prank thing. I don't know how to describe it necessarily. It's very much slang. But yeah, a slur is a bad thing. A slag is a fun thing. Let's put it that way. I don't know if that makes any sense whatsoever. These kinds of interactions would be frequent and their only means of communicating with staff. So again, the Moon Studios are a distributed development team. So they have like a bunch of different developers working in different countries and different locales, not just because of COVID. Before that, that was their operating procedure, and obviously it just got worse, really, with the pandemic. All of the above has led to high turnover within the studio, with a lot of open slots filled by workers promised hefty bonuses. So they didn't hire new people, they just gave someone else's job to somebody else on top of their currently existing job, and not paying them more, just saying we'll give you a better bonus. That means they didn't get paid in the interim. It means when the game ships, they'll get the bonus. But the game's quality will obviously suffer because they're having to do multiple jobs, so the bonus won't be as good, no matter how hefty they decide to call it. So yeah, not good. Founders Mahler and Kennedy were given the opportunity to rebut, and they said, "We don't believe this is the experience of our employees, and if it was, we were just joshing." So yeah, that's pretty typical gaslighty stuff. So not a good look. Not a good look for Moon Studios right now, or ever, by the sounds of things. Again, the full article is in GamesBeat. I think it's paywalled. GamesBeat are an offshoot of VentureBeat. If you're wondering, you can look that up if you want. I'll put the link in the description, but I think it's paywalled, so up to you. But yeah, this is again highlighting that it's not just the giant, corporation, Activisions and Blizzards and Sony apparently, and Riot, Quantic Dream. It's not just the big development teams that have these problems, and like sexual harassment and stuff can be hidden amongst the size of the team. Like this kind of stuff still happens in very small teams. And it's an even bigger issue for indie developers because like the alternative for a lot of them is to go into the big corporate thing, which is what they were trying to avoid in the first place. And there's often no recourse for like human resources or mediation or stuff like that, even if they do get mediators in, like the publishing team, who should have a vested interest in the team working well, not having a toxic development environment. They seem to be more interested in protecting their business interest rather than the employees themselves. So they're kind of fucked, basically, in that sense. Again, hashtag not all development studios, but it seems to be a sizable amount of them, which is not good. Okay, moving on. So, insiders described fast and furious exits from Xbox's Perfect Dark Studio. So this is the initiative who were hired. Sorry, how to put this? They were responsible for the Perfect Dark reboot that was allegedly in development. I imagine it's still in development, but it might be a little, might have been knocked back a bit because of this recent stuff. So there's been a wave of senior departures in the past 12 months. The initiative have lost half of the core development team, known to be working on the Perfect Dark reboot. That is pretty much the entire senior design team are gone. That's game director, design director, lead level designer, principal world builder, 2 senior systems designers. That's like the core of the team just gone. Why did that happen? Turnover top talent doesn't end in design. Perfect Dark's 2 most senior writers also gone. The project's technical director gone. Tech art director gone. Lead gameplay engineer gone. Lead animator gone. The QA lead gone, and even more. There's actually a list at the bottom. I'll just show it to you briefly when we get there. Despite that, now having lost like nearly 50 people, I think, overall, they've only advertised 3 roles to replace them. So that's not good. So why did that happen? Well, Departures coincides with the September 2021 announcement that Crystal Dynamics had been signed to co-develop Perfect Dark. So it seems like Crystal Dynamics coming on has led to some internal struggles, and the people on the initiative side of it were like, fuck this, I'm out of here. So the Tomb Raider developer is likely taking a much stronger lead. So yes, this seems like it was a bit of a takeover type thing. They brought Crystal Dynamics in as a co-developer when what they really wanted was to replace them as the developer. Senior developers at the initiative cited a lack of creative autonomy and slow development. In this journey, it's not uncommon for there to be staffing changes, especially during a time of global upheaval over the last 2 years, and there's plenty more work in front of us to deliver a fantastic Perfect Dark experience. This is from studio head at Crystal Dynamics, I think, at the time. The issue is, yes, that is true, and there has been a lot of turnover because of COVID and so on. People have been going, you know what? My job wasn't great, and it's just gotten worse. With the pandemic, so I'm out of here. I'm going somewhere else. So yes, there has been a lot of turnover, but you don't lose half the fucking team from turnover unless something really, really bad has happened. So former developers at the initiative have attributed the wave of departures to frustration among senior talent over the direction of the project, set down by Gallagher, who's studio lead, and game director Daniel Neuberger, who has also left the company since. The initiative's website claims the company promotes a collaborative creative environment. However, former employees say the studio's development hierarchy is very much top-down, which would suggest it is not collaborative whatsoever. Gallagher and Neuberger, who were previously studio head and game director at Crystal Dynamics, wanted to make games the way they always had, with top-down direction. While many initiative employees were expecting a more bottom-up approach. That's why they joined the initiative in the first place, because that's what they were promised, and it turns out that's not what they were getting. One person said, making games is hard enough, let alone when you feel like you can't get through to people making the decisions that affect everyone. So yeah, what they wanted to do as a collaborative process was just being shut down, and it was just do what you're told. And they were like, we could get this at any studio. Why are we here for that? Cultius was partly behind the decision to bring on board Crystal Dynamics. The reason Crystal Dynamics was brought on, as is put here, is that Gallagher and Neuberger were hoping that production would move more smoothly with the introduction of a second team familiar with their methods. So again, they were pretty much very, very much trying to supplant the initiative developers with Crystal Dynamics developers who are used to taking a top-down thing. Despite promoting and attracting talent with the promise of collaborative efforts, that's not what was going to happen. Sources agreed that they would be surprised if Crystal Dynamics' introduction, combined with the significant departures of core staff, hadn't triggered an effective soft reboot of Perfect Dark, and that it was likely still years away from release. So yeah, that you could pretty much throw out all of the work that has been done by that senior team that has left, because if you've worked in development, not just game development, just software development in general, if you have to take over a project from a team, particularly if it's such a big, ambitious project like a video game, you're going to have trouble just straight understanding what's going on in the code. And a lot of the times, you are better served just starting over. It might seem like a bit much, but if you're in development, you'll know that things will go a lot better if you just go, fuck it, let's just start over. And even in your own code, sometimes you think, fuck this, I'm just gonna start over. Okay, so VGC have a nice list here. This is mostly pulled from LinkedIn and some reaching out to people, but basically here is the staff of the Perfect Dark dev team as it stood. Everything but a strikeout are gone. So like a hefty amount of design gone. 2 of the 4 writers gone. Programming, again, that's more than half of the team gone. Production didn't see too bad, but still, it's not great. It's still 2 out of 6. So still a third of the team is done. Art, woof, that's a lot. That's a lot gone. And then recent hires, this is not enough. This is not enough to replace it. So yeah, if you were hoping to see the Perfect Dark reboot anytime soon, you might want to add like 2 years onto that. Okay. Gran Turismo 7 fans angry over massive nerf to credit payouts. So this is kind of been an ongoing issue with Gran Turismo 7 since its release. So during the review period, the microtransaction shit wasn't live. So reviewers rather, were reviewing the game based on an incomplete view. Like, I'm not sure if they even knew microtransactions were a thing in Gran Turismo 7 until they were patched in after release, or patched in with, like, it was day one or something like that. And since Gran Turismo 7 is a heavily online game, like, you have to be online, even though it's primarily a single player game, you still have to be online to play the vast majority of the game, so there's pretty much no way to avoid that patch. Anyway, there's another patch that has absolutely nerfed payouts that people were using to pretty much grind credits, Gran Turismo bucks, basically. So the game's latest patch has substantially reduces the credit payout for completing races. Many fans find this move to be a blunt method to force people into purchasing microtransactions for in-game currency in order to collect highly priced and highly prized cars that are available only for a limited time. So they're pulling a FOMO shit as well with their limited time crap. This patch has slashed many others. It has slashed many races. It has slashed many races that were being used to grind credits. So here is a breakdown. Open this. Okay, anyway, you'll just have to squint, I suppose. So these are the different race types, the circuit they're on, and then the payouts. Some of them had a huge jump, but this is like 24 hours. This is like a Le Mans ridiculous thing. That's like you're playing for the whole fucking game, or whole fucking day to do that. And then some of them have been massively nerfed. In fact, the rest of them have all been nerfed. So yeah, if you want to play for an entire 24 hours, you can get the payout that you would have gotten from just doing a very simple race. In fact, you would get less. So yeah, fans are not happy about that. The other issue is that cars that you have earned in-game you are unable to sell any cars they earn for credits, as in past Gran Turismo titles. So a lot of the time in the Gran Turismo games, you would start with a pretty shit second-hand car, and you would use that to win some races, earn some credits, buy a new car, and sell your old car, right? Or maybe sell your old car and the credits that you had to get a new car, and gradually work your way up to like the really nice supercars, right? That's the whole point of Gran Turismo. That's its whole deal. It's going from shit car, ridiculous car, and it takes you a while to do it. Gran Turismo has always been a fucking grind, but it's never been as bad as this. As an example for the microtransaction shit and how bad it is, so Gran Turismo Sport, the previous entry to Gran Turismo 7, also had microtransactions where you could just outright buy the car. Just buy the car you want. Just pay, here's some money, and we'll give you the car you want. So a McLaren something, numbers and letters, costs $5 in GT Sport, and now costs $40 in GT7. Like, what changed? Why that? Not only that, but in GT Sport, you could just buy the car you wanted. Just here's money, and you give me car. Digital car, obviously. Not the real car. You can't buy a McLaren for $5. Anyway, in Gran Turismo 7, you can't just outright buy a car. You have to convert it into Gran Turismo bucks first, and then use that to buy the car. And as we pointed out last week, maybe the week before, that price fluctuates because for some reason it's tied to the real world value of the car. So again, you could convert like $50 into Gran Turismo bucks and still not have enough because of some update that says, nah, this car's worth more now. Okay, random. Some choice quotes. How the fuck are we supposed to get 12 millions for a car with those payments? This must be a fucking joke, right? Only 2 races give enough money to buy a set of tires now. I really paid £70 for a supposedly AAA game with the same base structure as a Chinese free-to-play mobile game. Yeah, not great. This is also coupled with that last patch also knocking the game offline for 30 hours. And again, this is a game that requires an online connection for pretty much all of its modes. I think there's one or two that can be done without an online connection, but the vast majority require an always online single player game. Not good. So, as you might imagine, this has been met with a considerable review bombing. Gran Turismo 7 now currently is the lowest rated game on Metacritic based on user score, not based on critical score. Based on critical score, it's doing pretty good. Based on user score, not so much. 2.5. So yeah, it could take players nearly 20 hours of grinding in order to earn enough to purchase just one of the game's most expensive cars. 20 hours of grinding. This is starting to sound like the FIFA thing where, yeah, you can definitely afford these characters if you play FIFA forever. If you play, what was it? You had to play it 8 hours every day for a year or something to earn enough credits to earn the super expensive card. It's getting there. It's not quite as bad as that, but it's getting there. The rest of this article is highlighting some of the people who were brought on to promote Gran Turismo. If you play Gran Turismo 7, there are a bunch of like community people brought on to talk about it and like actually talk you through tutorials and things like that, which was really nice. But they're turning on it too. So there's some quotes for that. At that as well. Somebody has likened the game to be the real credit card simulator instead of the real car simulator, which is pretty funny. There's a requirement for an internet connection in order to access single-player content has been a pretty huge issue in the user reviews. So, in response to all of that, addressing the microtransactions controversy in a statement, Kazunori Yamamuchi, who is the creative director behind the whole series, claimed that the situation would eventually be resolved with further content due to be released at an unspecified point in the futures. So, like, hold on, guys, we'll fix it. Eventually, maybe. We don't know. We're not going to tell you what it is. Further content. What content? Something. When? Unspecified point in the future. I don't know. Sometime. Eventually. Keep giving us money. So yeah, GT7 has basically been brought in as a massive cash grab, which isn't good because the game itself, nice, but yeah, this shitty way to treat people, not going down well. Okay, so this is mostly a follow-up to what we looked at last week. Warren Spector's other side, System Shock 3 hadn't been heard of for a while. He announced a new IP that they were working on, and people are like, okay, cool, but what's the deal with System Shock 3? And Warren Spector has come out to basically say, we released a statement last year, there's not much more to say at this point. Tencent is taking the franchise forward. It'll be up to them to say what they want to say. There's not much clarification I can give you. We worked on it in 2018, 2019, and that was it. So they haven't worked on it since 2019. So it would suggest that Tencent have taken over the reins of whatever is going to happen with System Shock 3, and that is entirely up to them. They may have given it to a new developer. They may be shopping it around right now. Because do remember, 2019, 2020... COVID pandemic, so chances are nothing really happened with it at the time. Probably working on some other stuff, but now world is kind of opening up to it again. You might see some news about it, maybe, but again, it is up to them to say something about it and not Warren Spector. For his part, he has washed his hands of it by the sounds of things. So yeah, again, if you were hoping to see System Shock 3 anytime soon, you could probably add another 5 years on top of that. I wouldn't imagine you're going to see it anytime soon. Okay, finish off with some dumb stuff. So, some dumb stuff is mostly mods this week. So the obligatory Thomas the Tank Engine in Elden Ring mod is pretty funny. They have changed Torrent into Thomas the Tank Engine. Or any horse, actually, by the looks of things. Into Thomas the Tank Engine. You can see here the Tree Sentinel, which is a boss you'll encounter very early on in the game. And you absolutely should not fight this boss so early in the game either, because he will annihilate you. Come back to him later. Definitely don't fight him on foot. But yeah, they've replaced the horse with Thomas the Tank Engine, which is, of course, hilarious. Does it make the sound? I don't think so. Not in this video. Maybe an update it does. But yeah, pretty funny. Pretty funny shit. I don't think they've replaced Torrent, your horse, with Thomas the Tank Engine yet. And I think there is actually an issue with this mod at the moment that it doesn't work with the latest release of Elden Ring. So that's something to keep an eye on. But if you want to go through the effort of getting it running, sure, knock yourself out. You too can fight a guy on the back of Thomas the Tank Engine. I do wonder how you would handle it. Oh no, they did. They did replace Tara. Okay, I didn't watch enough of this video. They did replace Tara with Thomas the Tank Engine as well. Okay, fucking brilliant. This mod is incredible. It's a shame Elden Ring doesn't run too well on PC at the moment, but still, fucking hilarious. Okay, so that is Thomas the Tank Engine in Elden Ring. And then we have Sifu, but put Neo in it instead. So yeah, so is Neo. So this is like a package of a couple of different mods. One of them is putting the filter over the screen to make it green. One of them is obviously putting Keanu Reeves, Neo, into Sifu, and the other I think is replacing all the enemies with Agent Smith. I think there's another mod added, but I forget what it is. But yeah, it's replacing all the enemies with Agent Smith and replacing the main character with Neo. And it works really well. Like, yes, this is absolutely the Matrix. It works perfectly. We skipped to an actual bit of gameplay. So this is a fairly early scene. It's the corridor scene in Sifu and in Old Boy, but now make it Neo and make it Agent Smith. It's excellent. Agent Smith is all enemies. Put Neo in the first player skin, I think, and then it's like you can put like the small green filter on over the screen, and I think is the other thing. Yeah, the green reshade. But yeah, pretty cool mod. Pretty cool mod pack, and obviously Thomas the Tank Engine. Hilarious. Okay, yeah, it's already looping. Cool. So we'll loop that. We'll loop that for the outro. So that was the news for March 14th. To the 20th of March. I don't know why I did those two differently, but whatever. 2022. The Quarry getting an announcement. There had been rumors about it. We had seen leaks from like the logo design and stuff like that. So I think what a lot of people thought was that was going to be part 1 of season 2 of the Dark Pictures anthology, but no, it's a full-on game all by itself. So maybe they are taking a break with the Dark Pictures. They're going to do the Quarry and then get back to season 2 of the Dark Pictures. Maybe the Supermassive is a Supermassive development team and has many people to run different games. We don't know. Actually, we could just look it up and see how many people are on, but whatever. Immortality, again, another game by Sam Barlow. Those games are fascinating. Don't know how well they would be to stream. I guess we'll find out. But yeah, it could be interesting. And Flintlock, I didn't play a whole lot of Ashen, mostly for the reasons I put out, which is it's not very pleasant to look at. So we'll see what Flintlock actually looks like as a game. Obviously that trailer is cinematics, so we don't know. And then new releases, a couple of them are on the channel already. So Stranger Paradise is on the channel, Anno Mutationem is on the channel, Paradise Killer is on the channel. Adios will be at some point. I will probably wait until I'm finished Paradise Killer to do that. And Tunic, if I get a Steam Deck at some point and the dock comes out, I'll probably do that. But yeah, you're going to be waiting a while, I think. Industry news, yeah, it's like indie studios aren't strangers to the whole toxic environment shit, which isn't great. That article by GamesBeat goes into much more detail about what exactly is said in the chat logs, and there is like sexual harassment, bullying, and so on from Moon Studios. And then the People Make Games video it's mostly pairing up public releases and public statements and stuff with what was actually happening at the time internally, and then reaching out to current and former developers and like interviewing them. And again, great video, bit lengthy, but it's really good. People Make Games make really good videos. You should check those guys out on YouTube. I'll put the links to both of those articles, to the article and to the video in the description on YouTube. For Twitch, you'll just have to go look for it yourself. Can I put this? There's no point because it's a VOD, it'll disappear in a week, so whatever. And then Warren Spector, System Shock 3, not surprised because we haven't heard anything about it in 3 years, so yeah, not surprised. And Gran Turismo microtransaction shit is just finding its way in. For full price games, we're still getting the free to play experience, which is not good. That's not what people want. People buy the game, they want the game. They don't want a bit of the game. They want the whole thing. That's why I gave you money. That's the transaction. Here is the game. Here is my money. The other way around. Here's the money. Give me the game. Anyway. Or I give you the game back and give you the money. Except you get like a tenner because you did game stuff. And for whatever reason, they think they can get away with that. So that's why I never trade in my games. Whatever. You get more out of it for eBay. I'm going to move on. And the mods. The Thomas Tank Engine is always funny. I've only watched that video with the audio off, so I don't know. I don't know if it makes the train noise. I hope it does, but I don't actually know. You'll have to check yourself. And Neo and Sifu, yeah, that just obviously makes sense. Brilliant. Brilliant idea. Anyway, coming up on the channel next week, as you can see over there, we're going to be looking at Ghostwire Tokyo on Tuesday. That's when it releases. Depending on how that stream goes, I may make that a full playthrough because the game looks very interesting to me. So depending on how the stream goes and how much fun I have with it and how interesting it seems, we may make that a full playthrough, and that may become the Monday game. Paradise Killer, we started part 1, so of a full playthrough this week. So this week, part 2. We're just continuing. It is the Wednesday game. And Elden Ring is pretty much the Saturday game at this point, because I am working my way through it. We played a bit of it yesterday. For anyone interested, we have beaten Rhea Lucaria. That was pretty much the whole of yesterday, doing that. Finished off Caria Manor as well. So we're pretty much heading into Caelid for this week. That's pretty much what will be happening there. And hopefully we'll probably be spending 1 or 2 streams, maybe 3 streams. Probably Caelid's pretty big. We'll probably spend a while in there. And if you don't follow Elden Ring, that probably made no sense to you whatsoever. Paradise Killer is a murder mystery open world game. It is set on a island that is going through a bunch of sequences, so it keeps getting remade and remade to try to make it more and more perfect. There's a bunch of alien gods and demons that are vying for control of it, and every time a demon infestation happens, they have to redo the island. Basically, they need to wipe it clean and so on. But that did happen, and they did try to wipe it clean, but before they could do it, the head of the island, the council, were all wiped out. All murdered. So they've halted progress. The new island has been made, but people haven't been sent there yet. All the suspects are still on the old island, and you are now tasked with figuring out what the fuck happened. How did all these people get killed? Because there were multiple contingencies to make sure that didn't happen. So, explain yourself. And that's what we're doing. So we are collecting evidence at the moment. We've talked to a couple of suspects. There have been some inconsistencies in their testimony and alibis and so on. We still have some more suspects to talk to for part 2. Figure out, well, we still have to talk to everybody, basically. We haven't got around to it yet. It's big world, and you walk really slow. give me a break. Anyway, we'll be continuing that Wednesday. And Ghostwire I haven't played yet, so I can't give you a catch up on that. We'll have to figure out. Anyway, yeah, so some other administrative stuff. I am pausing. I'm going to pause the Alan Wake playthrough because I'm honestly not all that interested in playing it anymore. So I'll have to see what I decide to do with that going forward. I may abandon it. I don't know yet. I will have to see if anyone actually is arsed, because I'm not. So if enough people want me to keep playing it, I will. But I personally am all that interested in continuing it. And I haven't talked about the Games of the Month videos in a while, and that's because I've decided to end that series. I'm way too far behind to actually stay current anymore. It also means I am buying a lot of games that I only play for a little bit and then don't actually finish. So it's actually kind of expensive as well for me to keep going with that series. So yeah, I've decided to end that. Mostly for... To be honest, it's mostly for mental health reasons, because it was annoying me and frustrating me that I was so far behind, and it was stressing me out trying to catch up with it. And I don't think I was ever going to be able to, because some of those games are quite big, and trying to give them their due diligence, I would never be able to catch up. So yeah, I've had to end that. Basically, I'm not exactly going full-time streaming. I will still be doing... I don't know. I might. I'm thinking, will I still be doing edited stuff? And I'm not sure I will. I haven't decided yet if there'll still be like an offline pre-recorded video thing, because the streams are kind of easy. You know, I turn it on, I turn on record, and away I go. You know, there's no editing process, there's no rendering kind of thing. I can just export to YouTube. I don't have to upload videos. I still do, mostly because bitrate and connection issues and stuff like that. But if I had a strong internet connection, I wouldn't have to do that. But whatever, that's not important. So yeah, it's not great. It doesn't feel great to me to be abandoning an LP and cancelling or ending a series. But I think that's in my best interest anyway. And I don't see too many people clamoring for either of them. So it seems to be it was only me who was annoyed by it. So yeah, it's easy to wipe my hands of it. Anyway, that's the news and what's coming up this week and what's not coming up for a while, at least, on the channel. Anyway, let me know what you guys thought. Hopefully I'll see you tomorrow for... not tomorrow. Tuesday for Ghostwire Tokyo. Okay. Bye-bye.